to another episode of Feeding Fatty. This is Roy.
This is Terry.
So we are the podcast that we're chronicling our journey through getting healthy. Can include, our diet, what we eat, our exercise, and of course we have changed and talk a lot about mindset these days. So on our Tuesday releases, we usually have professionals, other people that are in the industry, and then on Thursdays we have been releasing, kind of our personal stories, where we are in our journey. And we've been talking a lot about diabetes just because that is something that I deal with a lot. So anyway, without further ado, Terry, I'm going to let you introduce Jan.
Jan Malloch is a fitness and lifestyle transformational coach for professional women over 50. She worked a desk job and was sedentary most of her life. She has a varied background, work and education, and she is a coach. So, Jan, I just would love for I would love for them to hear it from you as far as your background and how you found yourself in this position.
Well, certainly. I qualified as a personal trainer about 3 years ago. That was when I was 62. So it doesn't take a mathematician to know I'm now 65, all right?
Wait, you would have to help me with that.
But I'll tell you how my journey started from that, because, as you had said, I'd always been sort of, sitting in an office and all the rest of it. And I really didn't care too much for fitness or going to the gym or anything like that, because when you were younger, you didn't really bother, because everybody's fit, everybody can do what they need to do and all the rest of it. But as I was getting older, I found, certainly when I was in my early 50s, I thought I'm going to have to watch, what I'm doing, health-wise. Now, my parents, and I have to say this about my parents, both of them died in their 50s.
Oh, wow.
Which was not good. And the thing was that both of them died because of their own poor lifestyle choices. That was it. They both drank to excess and they smoked to excess. And they really just did not look after themselves. So my father, he died when he was 54. My mother was 59. And what I discovered was really, it was a case of, you know what, I'm now 52. I don't want this to happen. Yeah. So basically I stopped drinking, stopped smoking, and that was that. But as the years went on, I found that I was still putting on weight, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to have to do something about my weight, because as we know, weight problems now are pretty well as bad as being a smoker in the olden days.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They realize how bad it is. So what I did was I started to lose weight, and what I did was I thought, you know what, I really need to, get some exercise, go to the gym and all the rest of it. But again, I had joined gyms before, but you pay your monthly membership, you never actually go,
right.
But you feel as if you've done something by
right. You got to get credit for it.
Yeah,
that's right. So, I got this idea of what I could do is, if I really want to sort of try and get myself to go to the gym, they actually had a volunteer program, and it was actually Aging Well, it was called, and it was actually to help people over 50 to be, fitter. And I thought, if I volunteer for this might encourage me to go to the gym. Yeah. Now, of course, the thing was, I didn't know what sort of volunteer work I was going to do. Because I thought, right, I'll meet with this woman and she'll say, well, how about, Jan, you can fix our computers, or you can do a bit of receptionist work or something like that, something that was more based on what I had done before. But she sort of talked to me and she said, Jan, do you fancy training to do seated exercise for frail older adults? And I thought, oh, I could do that. So that's where I started on my fitness journey. Okay. And then I thought, right, well, what I'm going to do is, because I was beginning to lose weight because of, the exercise I was doing. And I thought, let's become a gym instructor. And then when I became a gym instructor, they said to me on the course, Jan, you need to be a personal trainer. That's what you need to do. And that's what I did. And then I focused on older people. But the thing is that I've lost track of what we were talking about.
See,
Yeah.
it's catchy.
Oh, you were just talking about how your path to becoming that person. You know, you went
Well,
through
this is it.
the
Yes.
chair
So
aerobics, and then
basically, I think really, I think it's a case of whenever you get opportunities, you don't know where they're going to go. And what you want to do is grab hold of those opportunities. Because obviously, if I hadn't have gone along to volunteer with the gym, I would probably have still be sitting in an office somewhere,
yeah,
still overweight, not looking after myself. Yeah.
New opportunities just breed possibilities for new life. I
Right.
mean,
Exactly.
That's-
Exactly.
we have to be open to them. That's the main thing. Is we have to be open and willing to take that chance.
and willing to learn.
Yeah.
Willing to learn.
Yeah.
No, I think that's awesome. You know, I think a couple things I was writing down while you were talking there is that, you know, sitting is the new smoking. And that's what, you know, so many of us now are tied to a computer. And then a lot of people that made a transition from working in an office to working from home. And it is hard to realize this. And this is no lie, that working at home, if I don't make an effort to actually do something else, I can usually end up the day with maybe 300 to 500 steps total. You know, walking from the
Yeah. Yeah.
bedroom, bathroom, desk, kitchen, desk, back to the bedroom, and that's it. And so, you know, I think it's just become more paramount that we have to actually be conscious of this so we can take that extra effort to do things to, you know, get up, because it's going to catch up with us either orthopedically, you know, setting on our hips and our back and everything else, or the weight that we've gained, because I'll have to say I've put on a few, you know, COVID pounds myself. But we really have to make that effort to say we've got to move today, because and it really doesn't matter how old we are, it's going to catch up with us eventually. There's just no way it can't.
It's interesting though, Roy, because you were talking about, and it's funny how this has now come into our language, COVID pounds. That's now a part of our everyday language, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the thing is, there are a lot of people who they've actually taken advantage of the situation, and they've actually become fitter.
Oh,
you know,
that's
because
good.
you know they're working from home, so therefore they don't have all this commute and all that, so they might have a bit more spare time. So they are looking after themselves, but I would say the vast majority of us aren't.
Yeah,
We've
and
let everything slide.
Everything's going.
Somebody was telling me that, you know, they say they call it the COVID-19, that 19 pounds they put on. I'm like, well, I'm an overachiever. I have the COVID 38, because I think I've probably, you know, I've doubled that for sure. But it's, you know, our gyms were shut down for a little bit. And, that, you know, I realized that, you know, a lot of people catch me like, well, you know, you don't have to work out to lose weight. You know, it's all 80% your diet, which I get that. But for me personally, I think they're all intertwined and tied together, that for me to feel good and for me to be able to walk by something that is not healthy, I need to be moving and feel healthy, feel like I'm doing, because if I'm just sitting around the house not doing anything, to me, it's so much easier to eat bad.
Well, the thing is, exercise isn't just for trying to lose weight.
Right.
Exercise is just to stay healthy. That's the important thing, isn't it?
And important for mindset. Important for mindset, right? Isn't that kind of what it?
Mood. Well, this is it, because obviously in this COVID thing, I mean, a lot of people are suffering from really bad mental health issues,
right?
Stress, anxiety, all the rest of it. And the thing is, if you're locked away in your own house in those four walls, you're going to get really feeling low. You're going to feel depressed. But if you can just go out and at least have a bit of a walk out in the fresh air, think about things, you know, just even look at a tree and say, wow, that's amazing. You know, I couldn't build a tree, you know, things like that. You know, it's just to focus in and really start appreciating what you've got out there. That's the thing.
Yeah. And for me, creativity, you know, like I do a lot of, you know, problem solving. So if I get kind of jammed up or whatever, it's amazing just going out and taking that 15-minute walk, how it clears my head. And it also, I guess it kind of sparks my creativity, because not only on something I'm working on, but luckily for Terry, it gives me a chance to think about other ideas for her to implement.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's like, I got to go walk with you so I can talk with you, so you don't think of so many great ideas.
He
for
doesn't
me.
have time to think about all these other things that he wants to add to the plate.
But even going with that theory, that the other part I think that troubles me is I love to go to the gym, but when I go to the gym, I love to stay for 2 or 3 hours because I like to do some cardio. I like to do the weights. If they have a punching bag or, do whatever, just a little bit of everything. And, but sometimes you get in this rut of, well, I don't have 2 hours to go spend.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's not really about that. I mean, I have to refocus and say, you know what, if I could just go get 15 minutes in, two things. It's 15 minutes I'm moving, but it's 15 minutes I'm not sitting in front of a TV eating something that I shouldn't be eating.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
This is it. Obviously, if you're trying to get out of habits of, people say, oh, what I do is I sit in front of the TV and I eat all this junk food and whatnot. And they'll start saying, well, what could I eat instead? Well, forget about eating altogether. Think about what else could I do? That's the important thing. Yes.
Yeah. Being in motion. And, I think that we've talked about, we talked pre-show about some other stuff, but, about my watch that I'm wearing now cues me to try to get 250 steps in every hour instead of waiting, to the end of the day, because we've talked that for me, it's easier to commit to, I can get up for 2 or 3 minutes every hour to take a few steps versus if I wait and say, okay, I'm going to the gym or even get out in the neighborhood and walk tonight. So many things that can come up between now and tonight, like don't feel like it anymore. Maybe it starts to rain, a million things. But when you do that little incremental stuff, it really adds up and is probably a much better plan, would you say?
Oh, definitely. It's amazing how many excuses you can come up with not to do particular things.
Exactly.
Especially, if you're talking about an hour or 2 hours, that's a huge chunk of your day.
Right.
But if you knew that you were just getting up for 2-3 minutes, even 5 minutes, it's no big deal.
Right.
You can do it. It's manageable. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, when they're saying, oh, I've got to do all this stuff, I've got to go to the gym and I've got to dedicate hours and hours and hours. No, you don't. You've got to start somewhere.
Right.
And always start small and do things that you enjoy doing.
Right.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, and we'll kind of heap on top of that consistency because, if you will do those small things every day over a length of time, you will start to see the compounding effect of that. Whereas, if you make a commitment to get up and walk for a couple minutes for a day, you're not going to see much effect of that. So that consistency factor is, and that's hard. That's hard. That's usually where we fail with a lot of things is we can do it for 2 or 3 weeks, but it's trying to make that mindset change to where, this is a lifestyle change. This isn't an intermittent thing. And I think if I'm going to ask this as a question, but if we try to visualize the change that we want in the incremental steps, not in this huge package, it makes it much easier for us to achieve. What do I actually need to do today? Worry about that. Not, I've got all this, I want to do all of this within a year, but, maybe what do I need to do today to be healthier?
Well, it's really a case of you break it all down into tiny, tiny chunks. That's it, So, don't be sort of thinking, right, okay, in a year's time, I want to lose 100 pounds in weight, something like that. I don't think that's way too big a goal to be looking at.
Right.
What you want to be doing is saying every day, well, today, I'm going to eat more vegetables. I'm going to forget that cake or whatever, and I'm going to keep doing it.
Right.
And you know what? Before you know it, you've actually lost that 100 pounds without really having to sacrifice too much in your life.
Exactly.
That's the important thing.
That's right there. I'm gonna remember that. Forget the cake. I'm gonna keep saying that's gonna be my mantra from now on. Forget the cake. I like that.
Well, do you know one thing? It's very easy nowadays. You go into the supermarket and everything's there. And not only
Yeah.
is it there, but they're making it so cheap, for all this junk food. It's just so
Yeah.
drastically cheap. It's ridiculous. And you go and buy it without even thinking. And you know what? Well, let's reverse this. Try and say, well, if I want a cake, then I'm going to have to buy the flour, the eggs, the milk. I'm going to have
Yeah.
to find a recipe, and I'm going to have to bake this. Think about that.
Yeah.
And then at least it's a bit of effort you're having to put in rather than just reaching
Yeah.
into the cupboard and eating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think about it in those terms, but you're right. It's so easy for us to eat bad these days because, like you said, everything's
all
ready made.
Yeah.
All
It's all
these,
put together. You don't have to use your time to do the prep work and do all that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
or the drive-throughs.
Or the
We were talking to another young man this morning, and that was kind of what he was saying was that he plays in a band, and when he left, he had a long drive home, and he said he always had to go by a particular restaurant with the drive-through, and it was very easy for him to pull in, and then it was kind of like satisfying his boredom while he had this long drive. And he said, eventually he could see that started taking a toll on him.
And that was definitely a habit.
Yes.
Because what he would have been doing is in a particular part of his journey, he would say, oh, I'm just approaching this drive-in, which we will not name.
That's
We're
right.
just approaching this. So your mind then says, okay, right, that means that you have to buy this and we're going to have to eat this. And
Yeah.
so the habit soon came into action.
Yeah.
Whether he was wanting it or not, it
Yeah.
was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the intro, I've begun to mention this more, is that, we started out this talking about changing some of our eating habits and then, like, trying to be more
Diet and
consistent with
fitness and-
be more consistent with the exercise and things that we did through the day. But we've really migrated to mindset because, again, some things that you've mentioned, like having the big 100-pound goal in a year, it's daunting. And if you think about that, it makes you want to go eat something. Whereas if you think about, I just need to get these steps in, and sometimes maybe even you take it minute by minute. If I got a couple minutes, I need to get some steps in. It's better than eating. But the mindset portion of this, very important, not only to get started, but then that sustainability as well.
Yeah. I think actually talking about that, you really need a good reason why you want to lose the weight. That's the thing. Yeah. And it has to be an internal thing. You have to, do this for yourself.
Right.
There's no point in your husband and wife or whatever saying, oh, you're getting all fat, you've got to lose weight. But that's not helping you because you haven't bought into that idea.
Yeah.
You've got to buy into it. And you've got to list all the reasons why you want to lose the weight.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, I did lose 70 pounds, but I'm sort of thinking, well, I lost 70 pounds because I want to be healthy. I've got 2 young grandkids. I want to be able to be at their weddings. I want to be able to dance at their weddings and all that. So health is absolutely crucial for me.
Yeah.
So what you do is you find that if there are any sort of weak moments that you have, what you do is you just remind yourself of these whys, and that keeps you going.
Yeah. Now I will say Terry is very slender and very nice figure, but I have not lived this long by being dumb and saying, hey, honey, you look like you put on a few pounds. Maybe you need to hit the gym over there or something like that.
If I say it, it's one thing. But if you use it, I might have to whack you over the head.
Then find me buried out in the backyard somewhere.
Saying that, the interesting thing is, and this happened this was a good 10 years ago or so like that. My husband said, Jan, this is when I was big. And he said, Jan, why is it that whatever goal you set yourself, you can achieve it, but you're still so heavy? And that actually set me on the road to thinking, I'm going to prove him wrong. So now this doesn't work with everybody, but it certainly worked with me.
Yeah.
I thought, I'll show him I'm going to go and lose this weight.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? Oh, I love that. Yeah. I mean, and I have not, I carried probably for about 15, 20 years. I carried a good amount of weight, and about 3 years ago, I made myself go work at a farmer's market because
All
I
right.
wanted to be paid to go be fit and go do my exercise.
Exactly.
You know, I
Yes.
wasn't getting paid a lot, but I knew that something had to motivate me to do it, and I needed to do it. So I was able to lose like 85, 90 pounds.
Wow. Yeah, and
Whoa.
she, every day she would, I don't know, you probably got a minimum of 12,000 steps in,
Yeah.
but you were, bending over, lifting stuff, moving, it's just constant motion all day long,
It,
which that's awesome.
And you were getting paid to be fit,
yes,
to
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah.
get
And
fit.
I
That's
had a
it.
goal. I figured out a way to make it happen. And I didn't think about. I just thought about. I wanted to be fit. I wanted to lose a little weight. I didn't think about the overall picture. I just these are the little steps, and that's exactly what happened. Oh, it's just clicking. It did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you found the solution. That's the thing. Don't be focusing on the problems. And I
No.
think a lot of people just focus on problems.
Yeah.
What you want to do is come up with a solution. That's the idea. And you achieved it really well without having too much of a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And you even got a few pennies at the end of the week as well.
I did a few, a
Yeah.
very few, but I got some.
Yeah.
That was the main thing.
The so starting out, everybody is different, and this is one thing that we talk about frequently is that if you're going to work with somebody, if they say, "Hey, I've got this great plan that's worked for 50 other people," that may be a little bit of a red flag for me because I want somebody to ask questions to try to. I may, like I don't like to run. I don't mind walking the weights and all that, but I'm not much of a runner. So if you came at me and said, "Hey, the great solution for you is run 10 miles every day," or something. I mean, it might make it for a day, but that's going to be it. So, how do you start out? If somebody was to ring you up and say, "Hey, I'd really like to work with you," how do you start out with that?
Well, really, it's a case of obviously asking a lot of questions. I mean, obviously, you have to get to know the person first because you have to build up that rapport
Yeah.
where you know that you will work together well. Because remember, I'm basically taking responsibility for helping them to be healthier.
Right.
Yeah. And they have also got quite a responsibility to do what I'm asking them to do. That's the thing. So the thing is, as you were saying, Roy, everybody is totally different. Everybody's got different goals. Everybody's got different requirements. So it's really a case of, right, what do you actually want to achieve?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see where you are. This is point A. Let's see what you want to do at point B.
Yeah.
And let's see what we can do to make this happen.
Right.
Yeah. So then, yeah, as you say, if somebody says, "There's no way I want to do any running or anything like that," so therefore, you obviously wouldn't get them to train for the marathon. That's it.
Right.
Whereas a lot of people would say, "Oh, but that's the only way to lose weight is to run a marathon and things like that." Well, that's a load of nonsense.
Yeah.
So you have to finely tune it to that particular person
Yeah.
and their needs. Because, exercise, if we can start thinking about this as more like play, because obviously as a kid, you were out playing all
wow.
the time
Yeah.
and you enjoyed it. You were physically active because you were playing. You did what you enjoyed. So this is what you want to do with exercise. Try and think of it as more like play.
Yeah.
And you're wanting to do what you want, not what you're being told to do.
Right. Yeah, and you can flip that switch by instead of the, "Oh my gosh, it's time for me to go to the gym. I have to go again." We should turn that around and say, "You know what? I get to go." I mean, because it's if you think about other people who are in worse physical shape or may who've even died from not being in good health, it's actually a privilege that you can actually go. And so kind of flipping that switch is
Exactly.
a great way to think about that.
Wow, that is brilliant. I've
Very
got to remember
good.
that one.
Well-
You say, wow, I mean, that's it. Because you say, well, hold on. I can go to the gym because I can. I physically can go to the
Right.
gym. That's right.
Yeah, when you
Yes.
get to be a certain age, like myself, it's you look around at a lot of people that haven't made it this far or that are in so much worse health that just can't. They wish they could, and then here I am, perfectly healthy, and think that it's a chore that I have to do. So, But also talking about the, selecting somebody to work with, it's good to have this trust, because you're going to ask me to do things that I need to have this trust and a connection with you to be like, okay, she knows what she's doing, and not be resistance and put up like,
Yeah.
that fuss with you about, hey, I just need to do what I'm asked and I'm going to get an outcome. And then also you have that cheerleader, the accountability, and that, because there are going to be days that even the most active person is going to be like, oh, I'm tired, I don't really feel like it. But that's where you could kind of be that the voice of reason, like,
Therapist.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. But yes, you actually need that accountability. I mean, I have a personal trainer. Now I only train with him once a week, but a lot of people say, "But why, Jen? Why have you got a personal trainer? You are a personal trainer. You could just make out your own workout programs, go along to the gym, and all that." And I say, "Well, I'm not necessarily wanting to go to the gym. That's the problem."
Yeah, right.
But if I know at 2:30 on a Monday afternoon, I'm seeing my personal trainer,
Yeah,
well, I think of myself as being a reliable person. So I don't want to let
yeah,
him down. I don't want to let me down.
yeah,
So therefore I go. And the thing is, once you're there, it's brilliant. And of
yeah,
course, obviously he builds up my confidence and all the rest of it. And, he'll say, "Oh, well, I want you to lift this sort of weight, this week." And you'll say to yourself, "No, I don't know if I can do that." But he'll say, "Oh, yes, you
Oh,
can."
yeah.
And before you know it, you have actually done what he reckons you can
yeah.
do. That's great. Yeah.
No, that's a good point, that,
Yeah.
even trainers have to have trainers, because it's like a barber. A barber can't cut his own hair. And then, with lawyers, they say any lawyer that tries to represent himself has a fool for a client. So, it only makes good sense that, uh, that we all need that help and that encouragement, no matter what position we're in.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I don't like, I mean, I have never had a trainer or a coach or anything. Maybe that's what I meant. I need one, but I don't like to be told what to do, and there's like a
Right.
fine line there,
Yeah.
right? I
Well,
don't.
they don't tell you, they encourage you.
Yes,
They
that's
strongly
right.
encourage you. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
had the nice thing about the trainer too is I had one that actually came to the house. So, there was no escaping this guy, because if I was on the phone talking with somebody and he like did a little knock knock, if I wasn't on the door immediately, he was like banging on the windows, like, "Hey, I know you're in there. I'm not going away." So he really made sure that I got this. And that was the beauty of having him come to the house, is I didn't have to make a decision to get in a car and to drive somewhere. And then the
Yeah.
other cool thing about it is, kind of like you do, it's like he wasn't just standing. We weren't going to a gym and he was standing there counting reps on a machine that I'm working on. I mean, it's like he personally designed weird, kind of odd stuff for me to do. Like we worked with one of those big old bouncy balls, rolling on it, and then he had some other things that he would bring in the house, and it
Just wasn't routine.
yeah. Not the same thing every day, but it was also like trying to work on building core as well as extremities, but not just, going in and saying, okay, give me 10 on the arms, and then one, counting them
Yeah.
down
I mean,
for me.
that's interesting because my personal trainer's like that. He will always give me a variety of different things to
Yeah.
do. Um, and I remember when I started with him, this was about 18 months ago when I started with him. And I'd said to him, "Are you going to tell me what we're actually going to do today?" He said, "No."
Yeah.
Because
Good answer.
if I told you what we were going to do, you would probably just walk out the door.
Yeah, when I would hear my guy drive up, I'd look out the window and see what he was getting out of his trunk that day, to, what we were going to have to go through.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it's important, because again, we're looking for that consistency, taking smaller steps. And that's the great thing about asking the questions, finding out where I am in this journey. Am I overweight? Have I been active? Because then you can design something to start me out slow. And I think one thing you talk about with some of your clients especially that are aging some, is that one of your assessments is like, how many times can you get up and down out of a chair, which is important.
That's it.
Yeah. Because no matter what, we're all at this. we've all got something, especially the older we get, we all have something that may be a little bit quirky about us that, maybe a bad hip, bad arm or whatever, but that allows that kind of personalization of what we're going to do.
Yeah, I think actually, although, you're talking about sort of, if I were dealing with older people, which I tend to do, but remember now, people in their 20s, 30s can be extremely overweight,
Yeah.
and they might as well be in their 60s or 70s because of their lack of mobility. That's the thing.
Wow. Are you seeing a lot of that?
Oh, yes,
Really?
yes.
Okay. Now that you mention it, I think I did read something not long ago about that they're kind of worried about this being an epidemic of the younger people being overweight and then having the diabetes as well.
Well, this is what they're saying because you think about it, if you have a whole load of younger people who are totally overweight, who who are going to be our policemen, our firemen,
Yeah.
all these jobs that you need to be physically fit to do. And it really is really worrying,
Yeah.
when you think on it, because we've got, and it's the same, well, in the States or Britain or wherever you are, 2/3 of the population is overweight or obese.
Wow.
And
2/3.
that only means we've only got 1/3 of the population that are what would be classed as healthy enough to
Wow.
do physical jobs. Yeah.
Yeah, we need those youngsters to stay fit and in shape so they can take care of us.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to be fit. Oh, sorry, wait.
You know what? We're going to be so healthy, we'll be looking
That's
after them.
right. We're going to have to do it ourselves.
But what a great time in life for me, because I grew up in the age of, you went outside and you had a rock and a stick, and that was how you entertained yourself through the
Yeah.
day. We rode bicycles, we played football, just like pickup games in the neighborhood. But
Yeah.
it was constant activity. We didn't have a video game. I think in my later years, maybe Pong came out, but we had the little things that slid up and down.
Yes.
But that got pretty old after a while. But
Yeah.
swimming, we always had places to go, hunting, fishing. I mean, goodness, it was constant activity. And then, that's one thing that really hurt me when I got to, be in my 20s, settled down, started having a family and a job. Then, all that went away. And that was kind of when I started adding a little bit of weight. But, the good news is now I've kind of transitioned that we have all this technology at our hands, and we can talk about that a little bit. But the other thing was the freedom to be out and roam. Our parents didn't really have to worry if we were coming home. Sometimes they more were worried that we may find our way home.
Just that the street, and be home by dark. By the time the street lights come on, just get home.
Yeah, but now,
Funnily enough, you're talking about, how it was before. Took I've got two grandsons. One is age 2, one is age 6.
Oh.
And what I did was, and a lot of their time is spent in front of screens.
Yes.
That's it. But I thought one afternoon, no, we're going to go out and I'm going to show them, just as I did when I was a girl, how to make bows and arrows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we literally went out and we chose the sticks, and I brought the twine, and I had my pen knife thing and all that sort of thing, and we made bows and arrows. Cool. And I tell you, we were walking back, and every person that we came across, my grandsons would say, "We've just made our own toys, and it didn't cost us anything."
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's bringing the true value of what it was when we were kids.
Yeah.
Because we had to make our own entertainment.
Exactly.
That was it.
Yeah. And just like us, we even rode our bikes to and from school, or we walked. There was usually a bunch of us, but like my kids, they weren't allowed. Things had changed enough by then that they weren't allowed to just do that by themselves. Now, if I had a day off and I could ride over there with them, then somebody would come pick us up, pick up the bikes. But the world has just changed so much that so it's just not an option for a lot of kids, single parents that have to work a lot, or even families working a lot just to survive. And so, and then, we've got the digital screens to entertain them, at that age. So I guess it really could be a big problem.
Mind you, when you talk about the 50s and the 60s, we had what we still have, television.
Yes.
And they were worried about that, remember?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and we were their remote controls too.
Yeah.
We were an old timey remote.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we've made a.
So that's how we got fit.
So now we've made a screen that travels with us. So,
Right.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
well, so I guess well, let's talk about that instance for a minute. Is that so what do you suggest for somebody that is way out of shape, maybe overweight and maybe hasn't been that active? I mean, kind of how do you start them off where you can not run them off, because I guess that's a challenge that you have, is that you have to set something up to help them out where they're bettering themselves, but not overload them where they just give up.
Yeah, that's it. Again, it's all about starting small. You'd say, I mean, again, it depends on how old the person is, how much weight they're carrying,
No.
because a lot of people might find walking 3 or 4 minutes is more than they can handle.
Yeah.
So basically what you'll say is, just get up out of your chair, just walk around the house a bit for as much as you can. That's the thing. It's all about getting moving. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, there'll be a lot of people who are more than fit enough to actually go and have a good half-hour walk, but they choose to sit on a couch all the day,
Yeah.
But it's a case of let's just see how you can do it. Even if it's 10-minute spurts, just get up. And then once you start this as a habit, you are going to feel the benefits, and therefore you're going to keep wanting to do it. That's the thing.
Yeah. So what is it? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, what do you have something that you say to them that makes them more confident that they can achieve their goals, their small habits, their larger habits? What would you do to?
Again, it depends on who the person is.
Yeah,
Everybody,
I guess
it's an
so.
individual. That's the thing.
Right.
So that's, again, I don't have a cookie cutter answer for that.
No.
We don't deal with cookies.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I shouldn't be dealing with them either, but every now and then I do. Yeah, and
But
so
really, it's really a case of motivating, encouraging,
Yes.
trying to persuade, if you like.
Yeah.
Talking about, you will. It probably sounds really hard, but you really give it a try. Let's see. You really will feel the benefits.
And
Yeah.
you'll be surprised at what you can achieve.
Yeah,
So many people
exactly.
think it's
Yes.
out of their reach, and then they start doing something.
Again,
and
we're talking about the mindset. Because
Yes.
if somebody just closes their mind off right away and says, "No, I cannot do this," you have to sort of say, "Do you know what? I bet you could.
Yeah.
I bet
Yeah.
you could."
Yeah. Yeah, and they have to really believe that, or it's like pushing an elephant up a set of stairs if they don't, because they've got and I'll speak for me. I have to buy into the process that this is good for me and this is what I want before I can take anybody else's advice or direction from that. But one thing I was going to ask too is, like, why do people come to you, or what do you think is the most reason that people tell you? Is it because I don't look good in my dress clothes, or because my clothes are tight, because I walked up a flight of stairs and had to stop and huff and puff before I could walk up the next flight? What do you see that most people tell you why they come to you?
Well, certainly, everybody who comes to me is because they're overweight in some shape or form.
Yeah.
But do you know what? It's the main thing is because they lack energy. They don't have the energy to do anything.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the more junk food you eat, the more energy is sapped out of your system.
Yes.
And it's funny, a lot of people think that the more rubbish, just the more you eat, the more energy you'll have.
Yeah.
Totally opposite. And a lot of people think the more I move, the less energy I'll have. Again, it's a total reverse of that.
Yeah, because there are days when I start dragging, and if we will get out and just go for a little 10-15 minute walk, it just really seems to perk me up. I come back just a lot more energized and ready to sit down and get after it.
Yeah, it's a lot of things it's totally counterintuitive.
Right.
You think, the more physically active I am, the more exhausted I would become.
Yeah.
It can be often
Yeah.
totally different. Or the more I eat, the more energy I'm going to have. No,
Yeah.
opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, and we talk a
Yeah.
lot about the balanced approach. And I used to have a sign hanging over my desk for a lot of years that I had, of course, eat right, but sleep is huge. And sleep is something that I found is the biggest catalyst for me to go totally off the reservation. That
Yeah.
you got to get that sleep, because when I wake up feeling a little bit like that, then it's like, you do what you said. You try to go eat for that quick pick me up, which to me, it'll help me for about 10, 15, maybe even 30 minutes. But then you get that crash, an hour or two later, you start losing it. Whereas, getting the sleep. The other thing is water. I don't drink enough
Yeah.
water. And then breathing deep. I'm a shallow breather. So those are things that, we try to do too, because getting that oxygen in is refreshing. And, I've actually had people comment on that.
If you were doing something.
Well, yeah, I'll be like, one of them, the worst one was we were at we call those a paint. They had the painting instructor at the front of the room, and
Painting
then
party.
paint. And then I'm sitting there painting, and this lady walked by, the instructor, after she got us going. She walked by and she said, "It's okay if you take a breath." And that, obviously she could tell from wherever she was that I wasn't breathing, but I find that, not only the stressful, but concentration, if I'm really concentrating, so you just need to make yourself stop. There's all these little things, I think, that help us. We just have to be conscious
and
of
this is
it.
interesting because you're talking about increasing your amount of sleep, talking about breathing. These are things that cost us nothing.
Exactly.
But we have to be more aware of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we have to be looking after ourselves. That's the
Yeah.
thing. I mean, a lot of people, they live very, very stressful lives. And of course, the thing is that the less sleep you have, the more stressed you're going to be.
Yes.
And, it's funny because people will say, well, I'm just going to fight on regardless. I'm just going to keep working. I'm going to keep working, even though I'm really tired. But your productivity levels just absolutely
Hello.
plummet.
Oh, wait, that way. I was going backwards.
Yeah.
I wish I could have turned
Yeah,
Terry's.
and it just doesn't work.
I wish I could have turned Terry's headphones off right before you started. we have just had that.
I mean
We
to
have just had
tell
this
ya.
conversation over the last
is a
few days or
recording.
week or so. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Repeat, rewind.
But it's very important, to try to wrap all these things together. They just because they're so interdependent. And we have another show, for kind of the aging and caregivers, and this is something that we talk about on there a lot, is that self-care, because you can't help anybody else if you aren't at the top of your game. And then it's like
Exactly.
it's like emergency responders, the fire department, when they go in to a dangerous situation like a drug lab or a shooting, they're always told to, well, we need to make sure it's safe, because if you go into a bad situation now, we've got to come find somebody to help save you. And it's kind of the same way in our health. If we can't look after other people in our life if we have to have somebody looking out after us.
Yeah. I think this is the thing that people, as we do tend to look after other people before we look after ourselves.
Right.
And we really have to, just sort of get a grip and say, no, you have to start looking after yourself.
Right.
It's you that's responsible for your own health.
Exactly.
So, and once you know that you're going to be healthy, then you can help other people.
Yeah. Kind of like the thing in the airplane too, put your oxygen mask on first before you start helping everybody else. And I think it's very true in this health arena as well. We have to, and we just want to live our best life, and we can't live our best life if we're not feeling the best. And then, one thing we've talked about before as well is that, I'm getting to this point, I worry about what am I going to be like in 10, 20 years? Because if you go into older age not as healthy as you could be, you really set yourself up for some things to go bad, as you do age. And I don't think anybody wants to be a burden to your family or to your loved one, that somebody has to take care of you. So that, I think that's really something that over the last 2-3 years that has really sparked me to take a hard
Yeah,
look
I
at
think
myself.
this is the thing because it's not only life expectancy, it's healthy life
Yes.
expectancy.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people are spending 20, sorry, a fifth of their lives being unhealthy.
Yeah.
They might live to be some in their 80s or whatever, but if you're talking about a fifth of your entire life as being unhealthy,
Yeah.
that's not helping anybody.
Yeah. No,
No,
that's
and I think the ultimate goal, well, I don't know. I think everybody's ultimate goal is to help each other. I think,
Yeah,
especially family for sure, but as a community, so we can all be successful and lift
Yeah.
each other up.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. We've started
Yeah.
talking. One of our things we talked about a little bit is not outliving your health. And that's unfortunate. So many times we do that. It could be we have a good mind, but our body doesn't work. And, you think about that. What kind of a sentence is that, to have a mind that's well working, but you don't have a body to get up and do things, or, vice versa.
Vice
A lot of
versa.
times now, we,
Well, do you know, it was a lady I was speaking to, and this was so sad, this story, because she had they'd been both, the couple had both worked and all the rest of it, and they had this dream about when they retired, they would go and buy a house in this, I don't know where it was, but they wanted a house in this particular place. And they had enough money and they bought the house. Yeah. And of course, they had all these plans of what they were going to do in their retirement. But in the meantime, they had actually put on so much weight while they were working that, yes, they managed to buy the house, but they could not do any of
couldn't
the
enjoy
things
it.
that they had planned to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean,
Mhm.
I would hate to be in that situation, but you just don't. You got to think. You have, like you said earlier, you have to be more self-aware of what's going on, so
Yeah.
you can address it.
Yeah, and we challenge people to
Yeah.
start earlier, because when you're in your 20s and 30s, maybe even 40s, you don't think about it a lot. You can eat worse and it not affect you as much, but then it's this compounding effect that we've talked a little bit about, that all these bad habits start adding up, and then when you get to be a little bit older, it's hard to break these habits and make a switch. And sometimes
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
already, like the diabetes and things, sometimes we've already became ill or already have a disease that we can't turn around, or, it has negatively affected us in some other way that we can't recover from that. So, get started early, think about these decisions, because they're going to live with you the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tomorrow may never come. Don't put it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't put
Exactly.
it off. I
Yeah.
sound like a commercial.
Well, the thing is that so many things nowadays, whether it's diabetes or heart disease or whatever, a lot of it's within our control.
Yeah.
If we can look after ourselves, it's not like COVID or something like that, which we really cannot control. So it's really our own lifestyle that makes what the quality of our life at the end of the day.
Yeah, and go to a doctor and get checked out, because just like myself, I just happened to find out that I was diabetic and I wasn't that bad off, able to catch it soon enough, but it was an accident. I didn't think, I wasn't feeling sick. And, we had another guest, it's been quite a while, John, I can't
Kowalski.
Kowalski. He had a really poor diet, and he actually passed out, at work from a diabetic coma, I guess, and was taken to the hospital. And so anyway, just
he didn't even know he had no idea that he had diabetes.
Yeah, I think his blood sugar was in the 400 or 500s. And anyway, yeah, it was something that he was able to catch and turn around. And but again, if you go to the doctor, find this stuff out, and free screenings, we're going to talk about that. We went to a free screening with something, but there's all kinds of things that you can do to try to find out where you are, so you can get yourself on a better course if necessary.
Or you could get a hold of
Yeah.
Jan and talk to her about it and figure it out,
Yeah,
because she's
yeah.
very motivational.
Yeah.
She can get you going.
Well, speaking of that, we're going to wrap. Jan, do you have anything else that you want to add before we get away?
No, it's been a pleasure being on the
Oh,
program. It's been great.
well, thank you.
But I mean, I think people just have to remember that it's really our responsibility for our own health,
Right.
and, it's just try and think of what you're doing, be more aware of what you're doing, and think of what the future's going to be.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a healthy future or not?
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
it, and really start looking after yourself.
Yeah. All right, Jan. Well, thanks a lot. Is there a habit or a tool, something that you use in your daily life that really adds a lot of value that you think?
Okay, I mean, certainly I always start my day off in a positive note. All right, that's why they call me the positively pink personal trainer. So really, what you want to do is, and my advice is, achieve something every single day. It doesn't matter what it is. Clearing out a desk drawer, clearing out a kitchen drawer. It doesn't have to be anything big,
Yeah.
or even just making a decision to say, do you know what? I'm going to start looking after myself. And you're going to say to yourself, well, let's think of the solutions on how I can do that.
I love that. We need to be nice to
Yeah.
ourselves too.
That's what I was just thinking too.
Yeah.
Be kind.
Because I'm the worst. If I've got 10 things on my to-do list, if I get 7 done, I'll drag around being upset about these 3. So, if you get up and you make these accomplishments, even if they're small, celebrate them. It's something that you've done and you need to be happy, and it's motivating. I think it'll motivate you to move on to that next thing.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. All right, Jan. So tell everybody, who do you like to work with? How can you help them? And of course, how can they reach out and get a hold of you?
Well, I specialize in older women over the age of 50. Certainly because I am somebody over 50. That's why I have a rapport with these people. So that's the people I tend to work with. They are certainly people who are overweight, and they need to get fitter. That's the important thing. Yeah. Okay. So really, probably the best way to get a hold of me is if you go to my website, janmalloch.com, and you can see what I've got to offer and whatnot. And then obviously you can contact me via email, or go on to Google and look up Jan Malloch, and you'll find my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my Twitter, all my different connections. So connect with me there. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And the spelling of that last name is Malloch.
And we'll include that in the show notes.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, and we will include all that in the show notes. But just in case you're driving down the road and pull over and want to jot that down, we'll get you
pull over now. Don't drive.
All right. Well, thanks so much. We appreciate our listeners as well. Again, this is going to do it for another episode of Feeding Fatty. I'm Roy.
I'm Terry.
Of course, you can find us at www.feedingfatty.com. We're on all the major podcast platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Spotify. If we're not on one that you listen to, please reach out. We'd love to get it added, make it easier for you to listen to us every week. Also, we're on all the major social media platforms, probably hang out a little bit more on Instagram than others, and a video of this interview will go up on YouTube when it goes live. So until next time, take care of yourself and take care of your health.